All right.
Hello. Welcome to the first recording of the Babble podcast, sponsored by Minor Influence.
Yeah.
I am enjoying a lovely ginseng lemon tea brought to you by Anthony, and we Coke sponsor us.
Please.
Coca-Cola. We like you. Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
Love it. Anyway.
Or Ibanez. Someone sponsor us.
Yeah. We have Ibanez. There's an idea. Fender. There's an idea. But, so Anthony is the current ringleader extraordinaire.
Yeah.
The OG of what has brought the precipice to what is Minor Influence, that I, Clay Bob Sponge Pants, joined
as
soon
first
after.
base.
First
I remember,
bases.
because that happened, because you knew Jay. Did you know Jay?
Jay and I met because of a thing called Sacred Blue.
Yes.
Sacred Blue.
Yeah. Because, so funny thing. So what happened was this is the start of Minor Influence. This is how it started. I went to Crazy Dave's.
Okay.
Wonderful Crazy Dave's. I went in and I saw this guitar, and I was like, and I made a post on Facebook.
Crazy Dave's is also used to be an Orange Park music store.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I found this guitar in there, and I was like, man, I made a post. I was like, man, I hate walking into a music store and falling in love with a guitar, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then I made this post, and Jay was like, hey, if you join my band, I'll buy you that guitar. And he bought me that guitar, and that guitar was that Telecaster.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the funny thing was, because I liked it because it was a weirdo lefty neck on a righty body, and it was weird. And then there was another same color red. I don't know if it was HH or S or HS or SS, but it was another Telly right next to it, around the same price. And I got the weird one because it was weird, my affinity for weird, and so he bought it for me, and I was like, okay, sweet. And I was going to be the bass player of Jay's Sacred Blue band, Sacred Blue. And I was like, because I
bought you a guitar to play bass.
Because I was like, fuck. I was like, shit. I'm not. Because the thing was, I'm not going to give my good riffs.
Okay. So it overflowed with technical grace in 2011. Was this?
Yeah.
Circa 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2011, Jay, a local singer, songwriter.
And he actually lives down the street.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Last
time I seen Jay was at across the street. And he lives down the street.
I saw him. Last time I saw him was not last Halloween, but the Halloween before at Leaderboard. And I got his number, and I texted him like a few months ago. He never texted back, so I'm like, okay, whatever.
It's fine. No, anyway, so the precipice. So Sacred Blue. Actually, it sounds like, unbeknownst to you, your interest in a red Telecaster is the same reason why I went to Crazy Dave's, for the same instrument.
Yeah.
Because that instrument used to be the backup for another band called Doc Moccasin.
Are they still a thing?
There's very much still a thing.
I
Shout out to Doc Moccasin, Code, and the guys.
I tried to find him on Spotify. I have one song, I think, on Spotify.
No, they have 2 albums now.
2 albums. Okay.
You need to check it out.
Check it.
Doc Moccasin. Code, Sexiest Man Alive, Michael.
It was his.
No. So, yeah, it was Code. Code used it because their singer would play, and that was hit, it was a backup. Regardless of it, that telly was made from Frankenstein parts, and I had an Ibanez, and when I heard Code got rid of that guitar to expand his Les Paul, because that's his thing, is Paul's, I was like, freak, man, I want that telly, because I liked how it sounded. I like humbucker at the neck, the sweet fat single coil on the bridge. Anyway, long story short, I had to get rid of the Ibanez. It was a whole thing. I finally got it, obtained it, but who would I have known that you had it, sold it,
and the funny thing
afterwards.
The funny thing is when, because you said when I brought a guitar to college.
Yes, you did. St. John's Community College.
Yeah, and then
shout out Vikings.
Yeah, and then And I was like, oh yeah, I got this guitar, and I told, and I was like, look at the guitar, and he's like, I know who that was.
Yeah, but you also had was it a Hofner?
It was a
weird, or a Sears.
It was a Teisco E100.
Yeah, but it had a Datsun on the headstock, and I made a comment about.
Oh, I carved my initials.
Yeah, well, you did other things to it as well. You had a Scooby Doo sticker on the back of it.
That was there when I got it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a Craigslist find. Anyway, so you came to college, and you're like, hey, you played your guitar. There's a group of people, me included, and I was like, I had tried Sacred Blue. Who's the drummer?
Trent.
He was cool.
And so funny thing was like, Jay just kind of stopped with Sacred Blue, and then so it was just Trent and I, and then like Trent just stopped like all together wanting to jam and stuff. So I was like, what?
You met Nathan.
And then I've known Nathan since I was a senior. He was a freshman, and so I made a post that was like, hey, who wants to join my band on guitar? And Nathan was like, I'll join. And so he joined. And then we were going to make a post. We found that we went on Craigslist to find a bass player. And I said, meet us.
This was before Craigslist formula had changed.
I said,
you could have done stuff like this.
I found a bass player. I said, hey, meet us at Crazy Dave. So we can, and we went there and we stayed and no one ever showed up. And then Nathan was like, I'm going to head out. And then you came in. And I was like, hey, I need a bass player.
Well, yeah, because you had asked me at the college. You asked me at the college, hey, do you jam? And I sheepishly was like, sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had one practice with Sacred Blue in our garage, and then that was it. But then you were like, hey, we meet up at our house, and then you showed me the Ibanez bass that you had, which I still possess.
Yeah.
And you were like, all right, this is yours. And we worked at Crazy Dave's that summer.
Yeah.
Building a warehouse for them to store property and stuff. And we passed out flyers to get a first amp, a 50 or 70 watt. It was a small Fender box.
Was it Fender?
It was a Fender.
Okay.
It was, trust me, I remember that one very clearly because one of our first shows we ever did, we still had it. And then Rob, love you, Rob, who worked there was like, no, this will not suffice. We will give you a rental. And we rented for like $60 a Rumble. And it had like the LED lights and like, that was like cool shit.
That video's still on YouTube.
Yes, it is. The first one. So it was our first drummer, Taylor McLeod, who I believe still does film and photography and artistic and da-da-da-da.
They're in Gainesville.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, so the precipice of Minor Influence consisted of the following members of Nathan, you, myself, and then I found Taylor through a mutual friend through art school that he was going to, and we jammed between your house, which we still have that picture of the first lineup, and that was a really good jam session, and Taylor's house, which was really good jam sessions because he had the space.
You know what was really cool though about I found, so 2 years ago, we were on a radio show in Brunswick, Georgia. Can't remember, Dirt Kid or something, I can't remember. But he played Another Victim, and I'm like, oh my God, this was the first recording with Taylor. But yeah.
That was cool. Yeah, no, those were good moments, because having your house and having his house, we had enough, and then Shantytown for Ken South Rock in Chiforia, which we have that poster.
Oh yeah.
Right there, the first one. That was the first show of many others between the years of 2012 to 2016.
Yeah.
That was a good 4 year span.
Well, it was, because I remember it because we had just seen Queens of the Stone Age. Because our first show was in February. It says February. And we had seen Queens of the Stone Age a week or two before. And that was 2014. That's how I remember what year our first show was. Because we saw Queens of the Stone Age.
Well, the band had practiced.
Oh yeah, practiced from 20.
For like 2012 until we finally got So it took 2 years
Roughly,
for us
yeah,
to like
yeah.
get things going, and then from 2014 to 2016, we played shows on a
Nice.
pretty semi-regular basis
Yeah.
all throughout southern Georgia, all the way down south to St. Augustine.
Yeah. And then so like Nathan left because he was going through school, and then he was like, hey, I can't really, like, he was really good. Like, if I said, hey, like, even now, I bet if he was still alive, now I could go, hey, go learn Blue and learn the solo. He could, like,
Yeah, no, it was dope.
but
And
he even said that he had a difficulty with writing with other people.
yeah, he was cool. I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
He was dope, and his girlfriend was dope,
And then
he had a good aura to him. But so, if we talk about, so we did that. We found our first drummer. Taylor did a handful of shows,
yeah.
and then the joke of us not keeping a drummer started when Taylor was done through mutual or unmutual
I remember what happened.
things. It was just a whole lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Taylor obviously now.
Then we got Jacob.
Jacob.
He tatted to the nines.
That's right. He
Tatted to the
was,
nines.
bro. Dude, Jacob was the MySpace guy.
He was. That's
cool.
all he did.
He was cool. He was cool, but he was the MySpace. His album was
Jacob Wolf.
Jacob Wolf.
I can't find him now.
Yeah, but he had a MySpace following that was pretty consistent. But he had an album called something about a harpsichord to my heart or something.
Remember.
It was very 2010
emo. Yeah.
Like, but he was dope and everything. And we played that one festival.
Yo, yeah, I forgot about that.
That was horrible. You fucking pissed me the fuck
I
off.
don't remember
Dude, I remember it because this is even
There's a
uncensored.
picture I had with Rob. But...
Yeah, but no, because we played at Borough Bar. We were on stage, and we were supposed to, like, that was like our representation.
Was it Borough Bar, or
it
was
was
it...
Borough Bar. It was Borough Bar.
So, like, somewhere by Underbelly.
Nope, Borough Bar.
Okay.
Borough Bar.
Yes, it was Borough Bar.
It was Borough Bar.
It was
fucking
Borough
our
Bar.
first show with Jacob, because we had practice. We went to Stay Tuned for practice, and that was dope. That's how we wrote Jersey Devil. That's how we perfected a lot of our songs after Taylor left. We went to Stay Tuned a lot.
Because I remember what happened with Jersey Devil. You went Prime Barons. You went out because Jacob couldn't make it that night. You went outside for a smoke break, and I was just fucking around on bass, and I came up with this really cool bass line, and then you were just rambling words, and you said something about the devil, and then I'm like, we're writing about the Jersey Devil.
Yes, and I was written at Stay Tuned. Yes. So Jersey Devil was a Jacob Wolf thing because he did, and we also did that punk song that was like 4 sentences.
Anarchy?
No. Anarchy was you. There was another one that we never played but once. If I could find those lyrics. But it was a punk thing. Anyway, Borough Bar, our first festival, it was something about the scene of Jacksonville. A bunch of local bands that hopefully are still doing good were there, and we opened. Like, we were the first thing at like noon.
Yeah.
And you sucked. Like, I will be completely fucking honest with you. Bro, you pissed me the fuck off. You complained about it being hot. You complained about the audience not really caring what we had. You were being a bitch. I got so pissed that when we went to another victim of pop culture, you half-ass sung it, and I sang over you, and it was like we were fighting on stage verbally. Because I was over you, because me and Jacob looked at you like, why are you being a baby? It's 100 degrees in here. We're in the back of a shed in this club made of concrete and freaking, there's the mural of the Mexican standoff in the back. It was dope, but you did not like it. You didn't like the audience participation because they weren't figuring out what we were doing. Our timing was off. We were fresh.
I also remember the shirt I wore this. I don't have the shirt anymore. It was this Old Navy, like it was a seafoam green and gray striped shirt, and I was sweating so profusely that it just my shirt permanently like,
you were uncomfortable.
Stretched.
You were.
It was like I was soaked and it stretched. And I remember this picture with me and Rob. I was like,
I was uncomfortable with your behavior. You were uncomfortable with the area. Jacob just wanted to do that. Actually, he was the coolest part about it, because he was just trying to do the fucking show. And that actually might have been what tipped him off to be like, these guys are kind of mad. And he left soon after.
Because I remember, because we didn't have a drummer when we were doing opening up for One Eyed Doll. That was when
he left. Because he was starting looking at homes. And that was Psycho Stick, One Eyed Doll, us, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yes? Yes. Yeah, so we met One Eyed Doll. That was Kimberly, and who was her manager, drummer? Junior?
Mm-hmm.
God, those were cool people. And then the drum tech, Vaughn. Shout out to One Eyed Doll members that are still existing. Vaughn, if you're out there. Snork was cool. She was the merch chick, and she was also an
They have
artist.
no presence anymore.
Well, Kimberly had personal things.
I think family health issues.
Yeah, and then Junior went off to higher career, and then I don't know about Vaughn and stuff. But that was the night that we started the trend of, we don't have a drummer, can you drum for us? Because Junior did half our songs, Vaughn did the other half.
Yeah.
And there's a video of Snork doing one of our pieces that we did, because we were just like, look, we just lost our drummer right here while we were loading in. Psycho State just pulled in. We were hanging out, and we were just that was a good show, just because it taught us about that. And then we started doing stuff with no drummer, and then Cameron showed up to Rain Dogs.
I remember how we got Cameron. So
you got a Craigslist thing?
No, so I had this acquaintance in high school. I saw her. I don't remember how I even met her. Her name was like Nadia or something like that. And she played guitar. And I was like, do you know any drummers? Like, I just asked like anybody. She was like, oh yeah, I know a drummer. And she was like, his name's Cameron. And so she gave us Cameron's information. And then he was like, yeah, let me see you guys play and then go from there. And so we played drummerless at Rain Dogs. Rest in peace, Rain Dogs. And we played drummerless at Rain Dogs.
I remember that show.
And he was like, yeah, I'll join.
We had, because that was the night before you got robbed.
Oh, you talked about that.
That was the night. Literally, that was the. If someone has video of us circa 2014, it was still 2014. If someone has a video of me, there's a green plexi bass.
The brand is called Grand. So good luck with trying to find a
and
Grand
that bass came from the bassist from Denied Till Death, Josh.
Really?
Yes, that was his, and he said, and he was bummed that he found out someone robbed you because your PT Cruiser, that piece of shit, had got the windows smashed.
No. It was I was dumb. So this is what happened. So I was at an ex's house. Nice neighborhood, not a bad neighborhood at all, right? And I had my bass amp, the bass, the green.
That was the Fender bass, by the way.
It was a Fender amp, yeah?
Fender.
Yeah. It was a Fender amp. It was the green bass, and then I had college books in my backpack, all stolen. I thought I locked my car.
the easiest theft. That person made a score because they got not only a green acrylic bass that I've never been able to find.
I think that was after, because I remember going to Cameron's thinking, oh, my bass and my amp are at Cameron's house.
No,
yes,
I'm telling you for a memory. After we met Cameron, soon after when we did a jam session. And I threw all that stuff in your piece of shit PT Cruiser. You went over to your ex, and then next thing you know, you told me, guys, we got to figure some shit out. And that's when I ended up getting the Jaguar from Rob.
Yeah.
I paid like $100 for it. And Rob was like, just trying to help y'all out. And, because he gave me the bass. And then I went and worked. Yeah. Because I was still at Crazy Dave's. I went and paid for a PV TNT 100 watt. God, I wish I had two of them.
Yeah.
I still wish I had those basses. I wish I had that Fender Rumble. I wish I had a lot of things in life.
I wish I still had my.
I wish I had the green plexi bass, but that shit was dope.
I would have probably just eventually just given it to you because the neck was too fat for my hands. It was just cool.
No, I just wanted it just because it was acrylic.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever. So anyway,
because I thought because I went to my ex. I was like, oh, I think I forgot it at Cameron's house, and then I went to Cameron's and it wasn't there. Then I was like, you know what? Maybe I just forgot it and put it back at the house. And then I went to my house, And I was looking at the house and I was like, it's not at Cameron's.
It's not at your house.
It's not at my house.
Your books are gone.
My books are gone.
The amp is gone.
I forgot it in my car and didn't lock my car.
Yep. And you got robbed.
I got robbed.
Yep. But that bass had stories because that came from Denied Till Death. The Telecaster came from Doc Moccasin.
And we have that telly.
That Jaguar bass that I played for most of our shows came from Rob of Noise Kitten, Pedals, and
he does his own solo stuff.
I know he does, but what was it called?
SSRI.
Yeah. Was it SSRI?
Yeah, I think it's something else.
Good noise stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Because that's not how I met Frank. The other guy that did the tattoo guy and all stuff. He was really cool. Anyway, so circa, we got all that situated. We started buying like instruments as we got jobs, and then you started figuring out your arsenal with the Jaguars and you had the Kurt Cobain Jaguar and
it's really funny because I thought about it because like I got if you see old pictures and you see the Fiesta Red, the Spaghettios.
Yeah, the Spaghettio Jaguar that we call
Jaguar. That I got that my first semester in college when I was with my high school girlfriend. I sold my college books back. I had money. I went straight to Crazy Dave's, and I was looking at either between, I didn't know anything about shapes or anything, this Jazzmaster and this Jaguar. I don't know what the difference were.
I'm glad you got the Jaguar.
And I got the HH Jaguar.
The Jaguar I remember playing it, and I was like, this.
And I wish I still had it. And I had to sell it for college money. But I got it, and I got that way before I even started my influence. And it's funny because it's like, that is what the Jaguar is like. When we started playing shows, I used that all the time, and so that was like the face, the guitar face of the band. And then now when I started it again, because I from 2016 until 2023 I couldn't. The new face of the band again, guitar wise, is that white Jaguar.
Jaguars, and the Jaguar bass has a Ruby, by the way. I named him after Rob's kids, Ruby, and the Ibanez backup was Violet.
Oh yeah,
because he had two beautiful little girls. But anyway, so yeah, minor influence went through that. We went through, what was that guy that missed out on the Misfits show? Because that was the other Ben.
So that was funny because like Cameron,
and that's only Cameron
had to do school.
Right, and he had to do a theater thing that night, and we got a chance through some promoter that I cannot remember his name. He was like, hey, Jerry Only from the Misfits and a bunch of bands from down south are doing a show at Underbelly now, the Albatross. And you had to sell tickets, and we sold like 15 out of what we were supposed to sell. And we still got a chance to open. And we had Jason in the band. Jason Bass. And he shredded the shit out of that show, and it sounded as best as we could. And that's how we met Josh, and that's how we met a few other fans. And that's when we started figuring out, like, you know what, the bass is like what we needed. So Jason, Cameron, me and you, but Ben was supposed to drum, and that's the third bassist now. Because he didn't show up that night and never went back ever again.
Because what happened was like Cameron couldn't because he had something.
He had theater.
And so we had Ben, but this was Ben's first show ever.
Right, and we're we're opening up.
And he got sick that morning.
Whatever. I still have a conspiracy theory that he got nervous, and I was like, there's nothing to be nervous about. Like it was going to be a show that we got to play in front of like 50 people.
Oh, more than that.
At the venue.
I think it was like 200.
Not maybe 100. We'll live with 100, but 100 people, and it's like we were on the bill with them, and that was another like super awesome mega. Anyway, so then Ben didn't show up, and then Cameron did his school, and then Cameron pursued, and we kept working on material, and then we had Cody. God, he was fucking awesome.
He lives down the street too.
Yeah, and Cody.
He releases some solo stuff.
Yeah, but Cody Cochran. No, Cody Holland. Yeah, which ironically is what my son's name is. But Cody and that Explorer.
Oh, that Explorer GT?
That was cool. I actually liked it. I thought that was, and it was made out of like mahogany.
And it's funny because like I was thinking about it. Like you said, you used the Jaguar bass for the whole recording.
Yeah, I never changed.
And so Cody, he had a Les Paul, and he had at that point at this time of recording, he had the Les Paul, and he had
Yeah,
that.
Les Paul.
Yeah, he still has it. He has a black beauty. I mean, like not 3 humbuckers, but 2 humbucker all black.
Really? Yeah. I don't remember that. I remember him just playing the Explorer.
He played the Explorer a lot. He recorded the album with the Explorer. I know that for a fact because on Trapped you hear a kill switch.
Yeah,
on Trapped.
That's what
and he had a kill pot. And so I was just thinking about it, I'm like, that's funny because like Looking Glass Self, I used the Gretsch that I had.
Yep.
Because I remember if you hear it, you hear like a whammy bar like going, and that
was a Bigsby.
That was a Bigsby.
Yeah.
And then another victim was for sure, I knew for a fact, my Mustang with the JB and the quarterback.
Yeah.
Rob has that Mustang now.
That's cool.
I know for a fact that Pine Barrens, I should not have used that guitar on that.
It's, you know what's funny?
Pine Barrens was the Kurt Cobain Jaguar. And you can hear it because it has super distortion pickups. Even clean, it was distorted. I needed the clean intro, and I used the...
You know what's funny about that? You keep saying it's called Pine Barren, and I keep calling it the Jersey Devil.
Because that's what initially we
I know it. I know it's... I think it's still... The song is called Pine Barren, but every time I think about it, I think about it's Jersey Devil.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that's just funny. Alright, so... My influence is growing and growing and growing. Our stuff is expanding, and then Jeremy joins. We had a trifecta because the shows that we did, we were like Bad Religion.
The Heebie-Jeebie show, the live Heebie-Jeebie show, was all 3 of us.
I know, but those Heebie-Jeebie shows that we did. Shout out to Tony Mills.
Tony Mills.
Yeah, shout out to Tony Mills. That dude was awesome. Brunswick.
He's in Illinois now.
Yeah, up close to his parents.
Yeah,
but that dude, like.
Best.
It was because that was like our way to get away from Jacksonville, and those kids were awesome.
And you know, I can't remember his name. I want to say his name was Josh. I know, or Tim, or not Tim. Tim was the door guy. There was this one kid. I can't remember his name, and he was so into shoegaze and stuff. And he and so when one of the times we played there numerous times, and one of the times he was like. This made me feel so great. He's like, because you know when you think of CBGBs, you think of the Ramones, Talking Heads, that's, you know. And he goes, when I think of heebie-jeebies, I think of you guys. And I'm like, we're not even from here. And you think of, yes.
Yeah. Also, bands like Mother Superior, those are the guys. Remember, I don't know if you remember this. There's a recording of when Mother Superior played. They broke out Y2, was it Y2K or something? It's XY.
YYZ?
Yeah.
By Rush?
Yes. Do you remember that?
No.
So me and Cody were in this, we're out in the audience. There's 24 of us maybe. And they were playing and they were like...
I still have a sticker on my case.
Yeah, because Mother Superior had an awesome sticker. So Mother Superior brought that song out. And there's a recording somewhere on YouTube, I think, of them playing that song, and you hear me and Code scream like fangirls because we knew no one else understood why we were afraid. Like, they're playing Rush, and they fucking killed it. It was one kid. It was a 3-piece. He played a semi-hollow like ES355 Epiphone. The drummer had a really slick, low-profile. Either it was a Ludwig or one of those, but it was a sick drum set.
Yeah.
And then the bassist it's like a Precision or maybe a Jazz, but very, very low, like you wouldn't, they weren't flashy or anything. But when they broke out that song, I freaked out and they played it perfectly.
I think I vaguely remember that.
And Code and I was just like, those kids were younger than us at the time. And we're like, that's good shit. Because they played Rush, chef's kiss.
I think I vaguely remember
that was a wonderful show. And then we played so many bands at Brunswick.
Well, do you remember how we got the show in Brunswick?
Yes.
I remember we were in...
The shop hadn't even opened yet.
The
tattoo shop had existed. Yeah. And Tony was looking for...
Tim is our age. I say door guy as if he's older, but Tim is around our age. So Louderpalooza, remember when we were on Louderpalooza? The compilation?
Yeah, that was awesome.
With the Poor Richards?
Yeah.
His compilation? Yeah. So we were on that, and that made its way somehow to Brunswick. Was
it the one with the devil?
Yeah.
So it was volume 3.
Yeah.
Because we were on volume 2.
It was the one with the purple devil on it.
Yeah, that was a.
I still have it.
Yeah, no, I do too.
And so we get it. So it gets up there, and I remember I'm standing because I was in charge of like the Facebook, and I was standing, and we were at Hangar 17. We were in Lake City playing a show, Hangar 18.
God.
And so
my God.
I'm standing, and I'm off onto the side, and I got a text message, or I got a message, and it's like, "Hey, can you do a show? Here,
that.
we'll pay you $100." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And because what Tim said that he heard that song, and he goes, "You need to get these guys."
Yes.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and another victim of pop culture because we recorded the first time with Taylor, but we recorded with Rob. Got it down. It was sick. We played it in Crazy Dave's, and we passed out a bunch of burns.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then the coolest, I don't know if you remember this key thing that happened, but Rob's printer was loot because we wanted green. Because I remember you were telling me, like, I don't want a black logo. I want, like, green. That's why the band shirts, the first 2 band shirts was yellow and brown. Because like, I want different colors.
Yeah, we had a black shirt and a brown shirt.
No. Brown and yellow. There's a yellow one there.
I remember, like,
you wanted yellow.
Like candy bars.
You wanted that. Anyway, Rob was like, all right, what about green for the CD? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. His ink printer slowly was running out when he was printing CDs so much that every time we passed out a CD, it was a slowly faded color. And it was the sickest thing off of a mistake.
I vaguely.
Because I have a couple copies left and each one is a different shade.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like by design. It needed to be a different color green. And it went darker and then lighter and lighter and lighter. And I was like, that's sick. So someone out there has like a pristine copy and it's like a weirder green than the next person. So each CD is different. It's like a rainbow. Anyway, so yeah, HBGB, HeeBeeGB, Tony. It was our first thing. It was the opening of it.
Was it the opening?
It was his grand opening because all the bands, all the kids, and that's when we decided to do the pinata thing.
Yes.
Because I said, we can't do pyrotechnics because that's dangerous. I didn't want you to, because you were in this whole phase of like smashing the fuck out of shit. And I said, what's better than smashing than having pinata?
Because I remember what happened, because like right next door was
a Mexican grocery store.
Yeah. And so we walked in. And first we got Mexican Cokes, and then we were like, we found Mexican paper masks, wrestling masks, and we bought that. And,
luchador setup.
Yeah, and then we saw this huge ass piñata, like that tall, and we were like, let's get that. And then we no one knew. And then I was talking to Tim, and we were talking about the Iggy Pop peanut butter incident.
That's when
Vince
vomit. Freaking. Love that dude to death, but that was because Vince started his magazine soon after, and Vince showed up, and he was like,
"Well, he drove with me."
Yes, he did because he wanted to come to the show. And I remember for another victim of pop culture, we're like halfway through the set. It was that whole break in the middle before it kicks off again, and like
Cameron comes from behind the kid.
We threw the piñata. We let them fight over the candy.
There's pictures on
There's Vince bathed himself in peanut butter, got peanut butter all over the PA system, slightly pissed off Tony.
I just had a tea on me.
Yeah, but he bathed himself in peanut butter, and I brought confetti sticks from Walmart, and that popped off. So there was confetti cannons, like the makeshift.
We cleaned up.
We did, but like the cleanest punk scene ever. Because like for the punkest moment we ever did, we also was like, all right, Tony just opened this club, we had to help him. But like we popped the canisters off, we threw the piñata in, it became like a wall of death. The kids ran in, they ripped the freaking piñata.
We kept the head.
We did keep the head for a while. I think it's still with Cameron. Cameron had a few things, but anyway. And that was the first show. And then we played like a dozen more before finally Tony was like, hey, I got to close the shop.
Yeah. I think they closed in 2016, and that's kind of when we stopped because you were finding a job and a place to live. I was really diving into college.
Yeah, Cameron was
Cameron
trying to
already
finish up
left.
school. Yeah, he went to Trees of Life,
And then Cody had
he
to help
became
his
a
mother.
vocalist, and Code did the whole thing. So 2016, the last thing we ever did was
Harmonious Monks.
No.
Are you sure?
That was when your friend Josh came from Texas.
Yes.
And we closed the night because because that night Harvey's band played Born in June.
Yeah.
That was one of their first shows. A bunch of different bands played, and we ended up being the closer. And like that was another night that was kind of weird because like
no one was there.
after Born in June left, it was just Josh's family and like Born in June.
Yeah.
And so we were like, so we ended up playing that show, and then our last show was again it was meant to be, but it was another community festival, not Louderpalooza, but it was something else, and we played at 1904. Because remember Guttermouth?
Well, no, 1904 because that's when Cameron left. I remember him getting what happened was with that festival, that Mind Over Music Festival, Cameron left that show.
Right, we had Jeremy as drums.
And no, he what happened was
he
played and he goes, and at the last song, because I remember this last song, he goes, "This is my last show with them. I'm joining another band or whatever." And then, or he says it in the beginning of the set, and then at the end of the set, he gets a phone call from the band that he's leaving us for, saying we're breaking up. Like that happened. Like,
damn.
And then Jeremy, because there's a picture. Jeremy's playing guitar at Harmonious Monks, and I know
that was the second time y'all played there, because the first time, because I wasn't there, because remember I had to leave because of living and job stuff. So my last show was at 1904.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, I was like, all right, guys, y'all kept playing because you had Jeremy, Cody, you, and Cameron. And then everybody else, Jeremy moved, Code had to help his mom, Cameron joined a different band, and he started to become a vocalist and stuff. And you dove deep into some college, and that's how we separated. But my last show, because at 1904, we also played with Prideless and Guttermouth, and that was the show we ended up getting banned.
And that picture's on the back of the album.
Yeah, because you decided to...
I threw water at the band.
Yes, you doused yourself. I thought it was great because we've played numerous... Across the Street was hot. We played there half naked, or completely almost naked. We've played a bunch of other clubs. We played at Freebirds was cool because we played there twice.
Yeah.
We played there with... Heart-Shaped Box. That was dope.
Nirvana cover band.
Yeah, that was Nirvana's cover band. And then we played... I forget the other band we opened up for, but those were the two times we played at Freebirds before it closed. So, like, those were some of the memories I remember fondly because the Freebird show was just like, and then we had what's his face from Swashbucklers Television, Nick
Lee Sloan.
Lee, dude, he was the one that videotaped it, edited it, did all his stuff.
Yeah,
but 1904 was the precipice of 2016. It was some festival we did.
It was a Mind Over Music Festival, and there was like no one there really. I remember.
Well, again, we started first.
Yeah.
And we played. We did our part. I left. I pursued my warehouse career, and then it's taken me this amount of times to kind of come back to stuff.
Remember, we had our CD release show because our CD released in June.
That was at Rain
Dogs. And so we released in June, and we had our CD release show there. I remember it was Prideless, it was Denied Till Death, Prideless, Denied Till Death. Was it Born in
Harvey's acoustic set.
KiloCon.
Nope. KiloCon, we never played with KiloCon, we played with Harvey Hampton. He did an acoustic. He did his acoustic songs.
Dig Dog was there too.
Dig Dog was there.
Dig Dog, Prideless, Denied Till Death.
Us. Harvey did acoustics.
Harvey.
I remember that because he passed out limited edition burners.
Yeah, I think.
And I got one of them, and he was trying to pursue because he was in KiloCon, and then he was in Born in June, and then he was trying to do his acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
And then he was back in Born in June, and now he's doing his own thing. You know, shout out to Harvey Hampton, wonderful. He's by far one of our biggest supporters.
Oh, Harvey's great. Our first, he's on TikTok. Our first slumber party show was it was us. It was my idea for the slumber party show.
So how says something? All right, so we've literally gone through little snippets of memories of like peanut butter and being banned from a certain venue and playing with all these different headliners and stuff like that. Dirty Reggae Punks that was the Green Jello band.
Or how about,
that was really cool.
How about the tons of shows we did at a venue called Across the Street?
Yeah, Across the Street that's how we became friends with Coffin, which was the sub band to Primitive Hard Drive. And they were from Virginia. They were really cool. But Coffin I like better because Coffin was like Pantera but better, in my opinion. Like, I know that's saying a lot, but like the bassist, the brother duo, them.
I got some stuff to tell you later.
That's fine. But anyway, those guys, and then we also played with bands like Southern Apple Pie.
Or what about
Content? What, Sapco? Southern Apple Pie cooking something.
Alabama Pie Cook-Off or
Southern Alabama Pie Cook-Off,
something like that. And then what about Happy Face Mistakes?
I thoroughly miss them. Those guys also helped us out tremendously.
What's his name? Lee died.
Yeah, well, that's why I missed them.
Yeah.
Is because when he passed, the band kind of absorbed. What was his name? Eddie? The other dude that was like the lead that he was doing it, he was just an older guy that was really cool.
His last name was Jewett.
Anyway, Happy Face Mistakes was like those guys were, there's pictures of Prideless, Happy Face Mistakes, Status Foe, we played with them a few times. That one guy, do you remember that band? We played with them a few times in St. Augustine. What distinctively reminds them of them is I felt very self-conscious about my bass skills when I found out that their bassist had no hands. One hand, excuse me.
Oh, God, I remember.
No, not Phase Wave, because Phase Wave was another band.
Oh, yeah.
But this guy...
I think I vaguely remember.
Phase Wave, I got introduced to Phase Wave because we opened up for them at Underbelly, Albatross, whatever. But with that one guy, that group, they played at Nobby's. Dude, that bass player, again, I don't know if he might have had 2 fingers, played a fuck ton better bass than I did. And I was like, I need to do better. And I remember we've played Nobby's a few times and like we progressed. That was like we like Nobby's. Nobby's was cool.
He still remembers me.
Yeah, well, of course, because we would go
Warm
out there.
Like Winter? Remember Warm Like Winter?
Dude, Warm Like Winter was at Across the Street.
Nobby's as well.
A Band in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys were... Across the Street was fun. Now it's the Walrus. And that was Murray Hill. But then we did... Navy J was Sapco. Southern Apple Pie Cook-Off. Sapco. I always liked that name. It was fun. And then we did Jackrabbits a lot.
Yeah.
Or at least half a dozen or more times. Various other things. But no, 2016. But anyway, so we took a break. I left. But then you got done with college, traveled to the East Coast, better for worse. And then now we're back.
Yeah.
And then you...
And I'm doing it better this time, because back in the day, because like you're saying these band names, and I remember them vaguely, but I don't remember the guys. Like, what was that one band? Oh, what's his name? His name was like Tony, the bass player. And he was like, man, every time you play, Anthony, you're so crazy. I can't remember his name.
That's fine.
Anyway, so I think I'm doing it right, because like now...
You really... Well, talk about that then. So you come back, you get with...
So, God, this is crazy. So, like, I come back and
you come back from your travels.
And I'm talking to Sean, who used to do promotions, and he owns 904 Printing. And so
The best printing spot for your shirts,
That's right.
posters, stickers.
And so I'm
Dumpster
like,
fires.
and he used to do promotions for bands and book shows and stuff. And so it's like, Sean, do you know a drummer? And I just moved back. I was like, Sean, do you know a drummer? He's like, yeah, I do. Let me see. And he posts something, and we find a drummer, and it's just me and Alex. And then Jason messages me.
Yep.
And Jason's like, he wants to join the band or wants to be in the band again. And he's over in St. John's.
Yeah.
Like across, like by Green Cove, all the way over there. I'm like, Jason, can you drive? He can't drive. I'm like, I'm not driving over there for practice, to pick you up and come back. I'm not driving this back and forth. No.
So his roommate
he ends up moving in with Danny, who was in Falling Place, and then he was in Summit, and then he was in 6 South. And he's the one that's recording us, the newest songs. And so he's off of
Shout out to 6 South, by the way.
6 South is great. And then Danny's just down the street. So Jason moves in with him, and he's basically their roadie. So Jason is roadieing for them, and he's our guitarist. So it's me, Alex, and Jason. and then we need a bass player, because
I'm
working
full time on my job. Yeah.
You're working, and you have stuff going on, and so he's at a show at Rain Dogs with Danny's band. And John is there, and they're like, yeah, and Jason's like, yeah, we need a bass player and all this, and so he's like, oh, I play bass, and then he comes in and all that, and then he joins at bass.
Y'all, but see, the thing is you started now because one of y'all's first shows back with a lineup was that slumber party.
No, with everybody was a slumber party, but honestly, no. So what happened was, it was. The first show we got back together was me and Alex at Nobby's, just the drums and bass,
Nice.
The drums and guitar. And then the next
Very
one,
black keys of y'all.
yeah. And then the next
White
one was,
stripes.
and then the next show I want to say was actually, yeah, because that was October, and then November I met John.
Yep.
So October 13th,
Yeah.
me just 2-piece, and then the next show practices was all 4 of us. Jason leaves because
Of stuff.
and then we're just a 3-piece for a while. Then Alex leaves because of stuff, and then quickly after we go to Keg and Coin at a musician meetup and meet Isaiah, and
He's dope.
and he's great, and he joins, and then it's just me, John, and Isaiah.
And y'all did some, mind I say, awesome shows.
We did some killer shows, bridge shows at.
Because you now went from going from Brunswick to now Tallahassee.
God, that's an experience.
Yeah, dude. So you went from going 2 hours north to 4 hours west, 3 hours west.
Yeah.
And you went and started playing shows in Tallahassee.
Oh my God,
And
those
meeting bands out there, including Wondermare.
Wondermare. Well, shout out to Wondermare. We love those guys. We met them in Orlando, but they're from Alabama, and they went to see us when we played Tallahassee.
You played Kill Tactic.
Kill Tactics out here. They're wonderful guys. I remember how we met them too. That was fun because it was. so like.
All right, so Kill Tactic.
We're playing Shantytown.
All right,
and it's.
dude, Shantytown's fucking
Oh
awesome.
yeah. So we're playing Shantytown as a 4-piece. Jason, John, Alex, and I. Right.
It's on YouTube.
And it's on YouTube. And so we're playing there. And so I have one beer, and it's a heavy beer. It says it's an ale, cinnamon bun ale, but it's a stout. It's heavy. I throw
I
up
love
because
how you can distinguish between the two. Like, oh, it's so dense, it can't be an ale.
It's not an
It's
ale.
a
It's a
stout.
stout. It was heavy. It was good, and I threw up because like it was so heavy. I was just trying to chug it. No, so I threw up, and so I'm kind of like not drunk, but just kind of like.
Off of a tall boy?
And no, I'm not drunk, but I'm just. It was heavy.
Okay.
And I didn't eat anything. I just chugged it.
Okay, so you
And,
didn't eat
and
anything.
and Jason.
Jason was 3 sheets to the wind.
No, he was 5 sheets to the wind.
Yeah, it was gone.
He was gone.
He was gone.
John, this was his first show. John was gone. So Jason was the drunk, 5 sheets to the wind. John was 4. Alex was 3, and I was just not feeling well, right? And so we're playing. This is a drunk, disorderly show, and so we're playing, and we're playing with Falling in Place, and we're playing with The Occult. And some people at the show they were like I feel like they were very like freaked out about us because like I'm hot and Jason is just kind of playing. He's still shredding, but he's just kind of like, drunk and then John's like going like this. And I'm just like playing, and we do a 6-minute cover of Blue.
Then what's Blue from?
Blue is Nirvana, and it's the first song off of Bleach, and it's about 2.5, 3 minutes.
You made the extended version. It was the extended cut.
It's so sludgy and gooey, and I get hot, and I'm playing in my boxers. I strip down, take my shirt off, my pants are at my ankles. I do somersaults. I'm going crazy. And Kill Tactics is like, what the hell, man? We thought we were crazy. And then they're like, and they said, oh, we are on the same bill as you for for our next show. And so they were like, oh, cool. We can't wait. Our next show is the Bridge Show. We'll see you the show afterwards.
What is the Bridge Show?
Jack's Punk's Bridge Show. So we play Shantytown. Then the next week or so, we play the Bridge Show, and then a band drops out last minute, and it just so happens that Kill Tactic was there, so they got added on the bill last minute. And then the next show we played was actually booked with Kill Tactic, and then from there on, we just kind of hang out all the time.
We definitely again need to do another Kill Tactic show because those guys. Have you seen the Instagram pictures of them at the last Bridge?
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I know.
The crowd participation, everything.
I love those guys. We have band barbecues with them, but like, it was funny because I posted a video of the Shantytown show. It's 47 minutes. 6.5 minutes of those is a cover of Blue. Like it's like
God.
It's
that's freaking awesome.
And oh my God.
So you did the Bridge shows; those were memorable because you did such things as the Halloween thing.
And the Bridge Show was fun because the first Bridge Show was, we like to do this thing down in Jacksonville. They have the day after Thanksgiving. They have
Black Friday.
Yeah, no, the Saturday.
Okay.
After, so Thursday and then Black Friday, and then Saturday they do a boat parade and fireworks. And so I was like, when we came up, Ian was like, "Hey, they're doing the boat parade. We don't know how the turnout's going to be." I'm like, "God," I'm like, "Fuck," And so everything just lined up so perfectly that like Kill Tactic played last minute because the first band dropped out, so that so the set was back a little bit, and then we played second, which is amazing. And then, but it just so happened. So after the boat parade, fireworks go off. So Looking Glass Self, the last two songs had fireworks right behind us. So that
pyrotechnics,
free of the city. Thanks you, taxpayers.
Yes. Jacksonville showing
Jacksonville
out.
Taxpayers. Thank you for putting out a show for us.
Hell yeah.
And
but no, so you. And then now
we have the two singles.
Yeah.
And we're gonna release we're gonna be working on new material for like an album. Because we have a few new songs. It's funny because all those Isolation you guys never worked on that riff. I don't think so back in the day. But I remember like Dead on the Vine, that riff, I got my Kurt Cobain Jaguar.
So we played yesterday.
Yeah.
What was the other thing we jammed to for like 20 minutes?
Oh, I don't know.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But all these riffs that seem new, like I've had.
They've been around for a while.
They've been back. Some of them have been around even at the end of Minor Influence the first time. You know.
That's the one thing I do miss, and this is from the bottom of my stomach. How much Cameron's dad, led us for hours. I really think that was a key ingredient. He's definitely the sixth member for doing that because shout out obviously to Cameron because he's a phenomenal drummer.
We've never had a bad drummer.
Yeah, no, I don't. Even with the Jason Wolf thing, he had a specific set of skills that would have got through with it. It's just staying with stuff.
Yeah.
And everything, but Cameron's dad and his whole making sure that you know, as
Because
long
the
as
giant
we-
PA.
Yeah, but like just in general, like just the whole telling us about music and like helping us out. I mean, that dude really, he helped out a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He was amongst everybody. It's Rob, Harvey, Crazy Dave Store, the people that would come see us, Denied Till Death, Rue, Chris, all those guys. You know, we definitely had a good set of friends that like gave a shit.
Yeah.
And like, but no, those hours at Cameron's, I mean, you would just pull riffs out of your ass and it would just be like all the time. And you even posted some of that stuff on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Those hour-long segments of just noise.
Yeah. I mean,
Just to see what would stick, because then you could listen to it and be like, oh, that's good.
Because that's how even with the band now, like I will literally just be fucking around on guitar, and John would be like, "What is that?" I'm like, I have no idea. And like John, I mean, I'm not one of those like, no one writes stuff. I'm just but
No, it's a melting pot of ideas and visions.
and it was even now with finding new members and getting new people. They're like, I like I play like okay, add the weird Midwest emo stuff. I don't care because every time we play, people were like, what the hell was that? You're like, what do you mean? They're like, you guys are all over the place, but you're like so in tune. I'm like, yeah, because we just play.
That's the point.
I think that's the downfall of a lot of bands is that they go,
Like,
oh, you like the Misfits? Let's do that. And it's like, come on.
Nah, because truth be told, you were the first person I was introduced to grunge. Because truth be told, and you know this on record, like that none of that was on my airway at all. I came in, it was A Day to Remember, it was the whole freaking Every Time I Die, those bands. Like it was the t-shirts and Hot Topic, popular stuff, even some of the goofier things, but then you're like, no. And then we started talking about music, and you're like, and then somehow, this is the funniest thing, the biggest thing that got us together on agreeing on what was good was Rancid.
Yeah.
Because you were in a huge kick for Rancid, Gallows, and obviously Nirvana, Soundgarden, and stuff like that. But Rancid was the thing we always agreed on. Because we were like, hey, let's listen to, Ruby
Soho.
Yeah, Ruby Soho, and all that other stuff. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what is going on. And you were like, no, just try it. And once we listened to Rancid, I was like, okay, let me get into this, because it was Matt Freeman was like, yeah, you need to play like him. And I was like, I'm not going to play like that, but I will try to like figure something out. And then we started getting into like Alice in Chains. And then you started getting into like heavier stuff. Gallows is what you introduced me to. Orchestra of Wolves and Grey Britain.
Yeah,
Grey Britain. Those were two phenomenal. And then we started going to shows. And then we started, like I said, Chelsea Wolfe, we seen her. Queens of Stone Age, we seen her.
I remember a couple of days ago, I was saying it was really funny because in the start of the band, like you, Cameron, Cody were like the heaviest. Like I was like the soft, and not saying I was listening to soft. Gallows is heavy. Corrosion Conformity is heavy.
Oh yeah, no, because Cameron was on Dream Theater level. Well,
I mean,
he did singing. His playing, he was like Patroni, whatever the drum.
Mike Portnoy.
Yeah, Portnoy. Portnoy was his thing.
But like
Code was big into
Code and
Cambria, which was cool because later on I started listening to them. I was like, oh, I can see it.
They're musically great, but like I can't get behind his voice as soon as he starts. I remember that bum 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 bum. I'm like, this is a sweet riff, and then he starts singing. I'm like, oh
no, hey guys.
But like,
no.
I just thought it was funny that Jesus. I just thought it was funny though that like that I was the softest. Not I mean like Nirvana's heavy.
Your personal tastes were definitely lower because I was also trying to go to because the shows you went to go see Billy Joel. You introduced me to Mastodon.
Yeah.
That was another thing we agreed upon very quickly because it blended both what you liked and what I liked, and it smashed it like a car accident. And I was like, Mastodon. And then I bought some of the CDs and I started listening to it. But like you went and got into Gojira and
Cameron got me into Gojira because I remember because it was 2016 and he's like, oh, this song, and it was funny because like he showed me Stranded, and then like years later, like 2021, I was like, let me try this, and I listened to the song and I'm like, I need more of this, and I added the album, and I'm like, I need even more of this, and then I added more albums, and it was funny because Cameron around 2015, 2016 was, you remember Code Orange?
Yeah.
And Code Orange came out, and Cameron was like, I can see, he's like, this is what we're going to sound like. And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, no, but I can hear what you're writing and what we're doing. This is what's going to, and it's funny because now that's like, I'm playing.
He's seen the future.
I'm listening to Converge. I'm listening to ISIS. I'm listening to Neurosis. I'm listening to like all the isses.
Yeah. But no, and then I started hanging out heavily with a couple other different people once I left. And like, I started seeing shows like Dying Fetus. I got to see Creator, Thy Art is Murder, Invent Animate, who's coming in September that I want us to go to if you're interested. Mm-hmm. But like, and then we just went and saw Suffocation and Devourment and all those guys. Again, not your cup of tea, but like getting into like different things. And now it's like, now I watch those guys, and especially out of the band Body Box, like their bassist and the sick solar bass that he has. I don't know I think it's Solar or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude. Because the only other bass was the Orsby or whatever. That was the dude from Carnifex. Because he had like the holographic. Anyway, sick bass. I'll spent the whole night watching them play, and Body Box, that I was like, that bassist, I never got to meet him last because he went straight to like backstage or whatever afterwards. But like that guy and how he plays and like hitting it and stuff, I'm like, I need to start. And then we just, I don't know, it's just evolved. Life evolves and things come and go, but like
it's just, I say also like, I think it's just,
and then you also isolate. Oh my God, isolation.
I was, it was funny because so when that started, like I wrote that riff, I don't know when, maybe when we were still doing the band, when we were still all playing together, because I know what I was listening to. I was listening to Frogs by Alice in Chains, which is like,
which album is that?
It's off of self-titled, and it's just like, it's
weird.
It's slow. It's slower than Isolation. It's slow. It's like bum 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 bum. It's very slow and just drony. And so I was in the same location that he was. I just made it drop D. So it was back in the day. Now it's drop C. And so I just played it in drop C. And I had that riff for years. And I had these lyrics that came after the riff. And then I was like, these kind of fit. And I wrote it I put the music and lyrics together roughly between 2018 and 2020.
Personally,
the chorus came a little bit after. I was trying to get the chorus, and then the bridge and the ending came. I was standing right here, and I was looking at John. I was like, "We need an ending, a bridge. We can't, because without that bridge and ending, it's a 2-minute song. I'm like, we need more." So then I was standing right here, and they're like, "Okay, how about this?" And then that's it. Yeah. What were you saying?
What I was just saying is, to wrap it up, is what a cool story. And something that is still evolving, still developing. You know, hopefully, I'm still fully committed to my career, sadly enough, but am 100% looking forward to jams and helping out as best as I can and things like that. Who knows? Maybe we'll rock 2 basses, one for weekends and one for weekdays or something, or we'll figure something out. But the point of it is to have just your latest release, having it sound so, the evolution between all those times we recorded Another Victim and then now, like, Another Victim's still one of my favorites. The lyrics are sick, the beat is sick, everything about it is sick. It's just Another Victim all the way down to Isolation, the evolution.
Even has Blackout. I sent Isolation.
Blackout's a hidden gem. It's something that the very Deftone kind of feel to it and stuff like that.
Like Rob was like, that's very, like a good evolution, that's different for you. And I'm like, and I told him,
so you're not stuck in the same box.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, I was listening to Kid A, and he's like, it sounds like it.
Fucking Radiohead.
I was like,
But anyway, but no, I guess for the first show, just kind of giving episode 0, as we can call it, the origins of what's to come, and hopefully, like I said, we can figure
more
some
sludge,
stuff
more
out.
doom, more grunge,
More
and
grunk,
more and more
Gunk.
yeah, and more ambient weird noise, Radiohead, pretty indie stuff.
Yeah, no, it's something the masses need, and I've enjoyed this thoroughly, but hopefully for those that are listening, hopefully those that will enjoy this little segment of history with the band that started in Orange Park, still lives in Orange Park,
Maybe we
kind of develops, maybe, or maybe we
Mastodon
can just
Music
help.
Tour?
Because you remember what we said about why Minor Influence, the reason why that title sticked, and we all just was like, that was the perfect band name, because we didn't want to be a major influence. We just wanted to affect just enough so that there'd be a kid one day would sit there and be like, yeah, Minor Influence was like a big push. Like, that's all. Like, we didn't want to be grandiose and be like, oh my God, stadiums and arena. Like, no. Like, if we could just play
Mudhoney
local.
status?
Yeah, if we could play Mudhoney or play freaking, what is it? We just got a skin yard type of thing where it's like people look at that record or people look at that CD.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, you know, and that just kind of makes it a little bit more special compared to, like, I don't know. We just always wanted to be that minor influence in people's lives.
You know, talk about that, 2 things. One, so when we played Nobbies.
Yes.
And oh God, who was the band? So we played a house show a couple months ago, right? And
Was this the Tallahassee?
No. That's another story. That's a long story. But this is a quick
For another
one.
episode.
For another episode. This is a quick one. So I can't remember what the name of the band was. The Strong Guys. Remember them? So we
That
played,
wasn't Nobbies. That was also with that one guy.
But listen, so this is we'll talk about, like what you just said about, you know, influencing people. So we play and we get there. I get there, and so he's a singer, guitarist of Chalk Tiger, right?
That's a cool name.
Yeah,
That's
and John
dope.
is friends with the guys from Chalk Tiger,
Yeah.
right? So it's like a full circle. It's like all of these things are full circle. So I'm up there. I get to the house, you know, I'm unloading, whatever, and so the singer comes up and he's like, "Hey, you're from Minor Influence, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," you know, and I'm thinking that he had just, you know, looked us up because we're on the bill. And so he's like, "I remember seeing you guys 10 years ago at Navi. We're the Strong Guys. Seeing you guys play has a huge impact on me." I'm like, "What?"
Dude, that show was the Strong Guys, that one guy, and there was another thing. Ruffian.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was a weird keyboard chick.
I have their sticker on my guitar.
Yeah, I have a sticker on my guitar too.
But like, just the fact that he said that, like, I'm like, I don't even remember that show.
I
like,
do, very much so.
The Strong Guys, but the fact that he was like he remembered me and us, and he's like, yeah, that was a big influence. It was a big, like.
That shit was dope.
I was like, what did I do?
Minor influence. You were a minor influence.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny when I did that show at that house show? They had a bonfire. I jumped over the bonfire twice.
Did you?
With that Iceman.
But all right, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone for listening, thank you for tuning in for the first episode ever of that Babble podcast, sponsored by Minor Influence. We wish to talk to you again, expel more stories, maybe get into more graphic and wonderful details of some of these escapades that we committed. We never ever talked about the pregnant chick and you dressing in a prom dress. We never talked about, you know, us drinking exorbitant amounts of coffee that was laced with tea, calling it gunk juice. We never talked about the monkey bite. You know, stories for another episode. But thank you for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And go listen to Isolation. It's on Spotify, YouTube, and
everywhere else.
And enjoy it. Be safe.